All right. Today we are going to create an extension for SillyTavern. And one of the great things about SillyTavern is it's so easy to create new functionality and share it with other people. And there's also terrific documentation that steps you through how to do it. So let's look up SillyTavern documentation. And one thing that you're going to need for this, and you probably already have it if you are using SillyTavern, is Git for Windows. So again, I don't think you're running SillyTavern without this, but part of what's going to enable you to do this is Git for Windows. So perhaps you're developing on a different computer from where you have SillyTavern. All right, so we're going to go down here to the bottom of the documentation when we have server plugins. I'm sorry, UI extension plugins. All right, now there's two things that you need. You need a manifest file, and you need the actual JavaScript. So you'll notice here that we have the JavaScript that is initially loaded by this extension. And here's a little example of what you might do or how you might get started with the JavaScript. So let's copy this manifest file. And now when you have an extension, there are built-in extensions. So in the SillyTavern folder, in public and scripts, we have an extensions folder, and here are the baked-in native built-in extensions. Once we import an extension from GitHub, we'll have third-party extensions. I encourage you not to actually develop the extensions here in this folder, although you may modify them. Well, anyway, if you develop the extensions here, then you may get out of sync with your GitHub repository. So for today, I'm just going to create the extension in a new folder on the desktop called first extension. And I encourage you not to use spaces in your file names because that can cause problems with some packages. All right, we're going to create a file called manifest.json. And then we're going to open that up and we're going to paste it. And the extension we're going to build today, it's going to announce a character's name when you get a message from them. So this can be helpful if you have slow LLM backends, perhaps you're running locally. So we'll call this announce message. Okay. And then here we need to put in the address of our repository. So let's pull up a GitHub account and let's create a repository. And we will call this announce message. Okay. Great. We've created the repository. It's public, so other people can download it. Here we go. So now I'm going to copy this. All right, and this is the address of our repository. Okay. Well then, let's call this version 0001. All right. Okay, save that. Now we're going to need an index.js file. Okay, now what's shown on the documentation website is some basic things that you're going to want to use to get started. I mean, one of the great things you can do with an extension is you can use the context of the chat to leverage that and manipulate it. So I've gone ahead and worked out an extension here. It's pretty basic. What we're doing is we're importing this ability to get the context, and then we're listening for events such as message received. And then when we get a message, what we do is we take all of the chats, we take the most recent message, and then we send a sound to the audio that says the name of who sent the message, and we say said something. So Joe said something, Jane said something. All right. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to create a Git repository here locally, and then we're going to sync it with the remote repository. So I'm going to type in command right here from this bar. I'm not going to type it down here. So if I type in command down here, I get a command window that requires that I navigate. But if I type in command here, then it already sets the path of my working directory to where I want it to be. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to initialize Git for this directory. All right. And let's see. We should see a Git. There we go. So we've got this hidden item called Git there, which is what we need. And then what we're going to do, so if we type in Git status, this is what's going on with the directory. We've got a couple of files that are out of sync with our repository. So what we're going to do is we're going to do git add dot, and the dot means add everything. Now when we do git status, we've got a couple of files that have been added to our repository but haven't been committed to a change. So what we'll do is we'll commit these to a change. And great. So we've committed this, but now what we need to do, so now we could now that we've committed this on our local machine, we can go back and forth between different commits. Right now we only have one commit, but we still haven't pushed anything to the remote. So what we'll do is we will take the address of our local repository, and we'll put that in here. All right. So and then what we'll do is we will push our commit to that remote repository. And so right now, you can see it's thinking, it's pushing what I've got to the remote repository. It requires that I sign in. So I'm already signed in here on my browser, so now when I click this, it's just going to very quickly ask if I want to authorize Git, and yes, I will. Okay. And in the background, it went ahead and it pushed that to my remote repository. And what's great about this now, if I look here, let's refresh the page, and we're going to see those two files right here. So now they're posted, and anybody can install this to SillyTavern. So let's go ahead and open up SillyTavern. And we'll use our start script. All right, we've now loaded up SillyTavern. We'll connect to our API, and now we will install our new extension. So here it asks for the GitHub URL. So let's go ahead and we'll copy that URL, and then we'll paste that in here. And anybody can do this. And now the extension has been installed. So if we click on Manage Extensions, we should find that right here, Announce Message. And then if we go and we look in our SillyTavern folder, We'll look at public, scripts, extensions, and now we see that third-party folder, and there it is. Okay,